Okay. So we've already prayed, so I'll get straight into it. So the Sunday Law Initiative is over for me. I did my last presentation last week, last Sabbath to the French-speaking group. So I started out November 5th. Then I tried to switch to July 18 and try and teach that. I couldn't defend it, so I went back to November 5th. So I'm November 5th, really. Everyone that knows me knows that I'm not clever. I can't figure things out for myself, so I don't try to innovate. So November 5th wasn't actually my innovation. It was Elder Tess's. It was Elder Tess who told me November 5th was the Sunday Law date. I think most of you know that now. Probably everyone knows that. I told the full story last week to the French-speaking group. Troy, I love you very much, Troy, but I still don't innovate. Okay, French-speaking group at the beginning of part one, I thought I'll just open with that story, the whole full story. I don't mind repeating it. It's only a short story. If you want me to repeat it here, I will. Otherwise, I'll just move on.
Yes, Aaron, could you repeat the story with Elder Tess, her reasoning out to November 5th? We would be interested in hearing that.
Okay. So I'm going to give you the long version, full story. Otherwise, you end up with more questions than answers. So I met Elder Tess properly in May 2019 in Romania. And we got on really well. We kept in touch almost daily or whatever. And by the time you get to the end of 2020, October or something, whatever, she said, do you want to do one-to-one studies twice a week? Of course, I said yes. So we started to study together. And then January the 6th happened, 2021. And we were in one of our one-to-ones. And it was, okay, so it's now March 2021. So 2 months after January the 6th, we're in one of these one-to-one meetings and she says something, can't remember what. And I say to her, do you know when the Sunday Law is? Excuse me. I always start out nervous and my mouth goes dry. I don't know why. So she says something, March 2021. And I say, do you know when the Sunday Law is? And she says, yes. So I say, when? She says, it's the next election, November 5th. And it was March 2021. So I was still really in the mindset that it's going to be a law, like an anti-abortion law or something like that. As I said, I'm always a bit behind. I think everyone else knew. But anyway, so I said, the election, how can the election be the Sunday law? How do you get the mark of the beast? And she said, you vote for Trump. And I went, oh my word. So she knew Trump would win. She said, you get the mark of the beast by voting for Trump. And sorry, get that. Yeah. So yeah. So she said, democracy will be shipwrecked at the next election because they will vote for Trump. They will vote in a known dictator. She said, you know, he's a dictator from January the 6th. So they'll vote him in, shipwreck democracy, and you get the mark of the beast by voting for Trump. That was all Elder Tess in March 2021. So she was still in her dispensation. She was still being led by God. She started to teach it. And then she retired before she got there. Yeah, and it was 2021. So Panium, on the line of the 144,000, is the formalization when you get the time of the Sunday Law. I probably don't need to draw it out, but I can if you want. So we did get the time of the Sunday Law right on time at Panium, where you get time setting, formalization. Okay.
Hey, Aaron.
Yes.
Uh, I'm a little slow, so if you don't mind drawing it out, I would greatly appreciate that.
Sorry, I think I missed something. Say it again.
Yeah, if you don't mind drawing it out on a line, I would greatly appreciate that.
Okay, so 144,000.
Thank you and happy Sabbath.
Happy Sabbath. Okay, just quickly before I forget, like I said, I want to give you more answers than more questions come up. So I just want to add that because it can be confusing. I found out much later on that she didn't seem to tell anyone else. She didn't tell Elder Parminda anyway, put it that way. I just didn't want to forget that. Okay, so you've got this repeating pattern. "2019 increase of knowledge, 2021 formalization." And it's at the formalization you get time. Do you remember I've been teaching that it's all forwards looking, not backwards looking. So at the formalization, you get the day and the hour or the time prediction. Could you unmute yourself? Oh, okay. You get the date of the Sunday law at the formalization, or you get the date of the next major waymark at this formalization. So January the 6th is the event which told us the date of the Sunday law, the next election. And all you need to do is go back to my earlier presentations when I was first teaching November 5th, before I tried to switch to July 18, and all that logic is there. But we did actually get the date of the Sunday law in 2021, kinda, you know what I mean? Okay, any thoughts or questions?
Aaron,
Yes.
there's a question in the chat.
Can you read it?
Yeah, from Victoria. She wanted to know how come you switched from knowing the November 5th date to July 18th if Elder Tess had told you before that it was the election. How did you switch up from that understanding to throw that out and go with July 18th?
I can't tell you. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible, always try and answer questions. I can't tell you that. Sorry.
Did you just get caught up kind of in thinking that maybe, no, that it could be, because there's a lot to Elder Terry's. It does look like the image is set up there.
So
Definitely.
as you mention it, I believe the image is set up there.
Yeah, that's what I have thought. But
Yeah.
it couldn't be my argument, and I didn't know that Elder Tess had told you that specifically like that. But I just couldn't understand how it could be the Sunday law if it wasn't the acting government in place yet, right?
Well, that's exactly one problem which I can't get over.
Yeah,
I
that
believe
was
it.
my problem. Yeah. Go ahead.
I,
Sorry.
no, it's okay.
I'm done.
I believe July 18th is the image set up. But when an image is set up, the next stage is that it receives life. And so when the image is set up on July 18th, it has no life in it. It's a lifeless animal or beast. And if you don't have life,
would it be the seat? It was given the seat?
I don't know anything about that.
And great authority.
I've got a feeling that's an Elder Terry study, and you know me, I only watch Elder Parminda.
It just seems like it was given the seat of authority and now has great power to do it. So
could be. I don't know anything about that. I haven't watched any of those studies. So on July 18, there's an animal or a beast, and it's been fully formed. So if it's a real animal, it would have a head and 4 legs or whatever, but it doesn't have any life in it. And a lifeless beast can't do anything like pass a Sunday law. You can't pass a Sunday law until you're given life. And so you could say I would say that the beast was given life on November the 5th, probably. But I don't mind if you say December 17, whatever you want to say, but it can't be July 18. It's too early. The beast doesn't have any life. If you don't have any life in you, you can't do stuff. You can't pass a Sunday law. So there's one point. And the second point is you cannot move the test to loud cry. I just want to finish one last bit on that today. You cannot move the test to loud cry, which means the only candidate for the Sunday law is November 5th. Again, it's the only time that normal people were doing anything and being tested. So,
Hey, Aaron.
okay. Yes.
So I arrived at the same conclusion of November 5th without Tess telling me straight out.
Okay.
It seemed like there were enough, I'll call them breadcrumbs. There were enough clues, breadcrumbs, whatever, just from her studies alone that seemed to be pointing to the election as the Sunday law. So I can understand where you're, not necessarily taking a stand because you're the only one told. And what does that actually mean? Everyone else needs to arrive, there together. And now everybody's in an upheaval because July 18th. And I changed my position too. So I'm right there with you of everyone being on the same page and then finding problems and holes as we delved into it deeper.
Hi,
Yes.
Alyssa. Sorry. Sorry, I just wanted to say that I totally resonate with Alyssa but like I actually never switched position from November 5th because it seemed like the only possible option. And I think it just really makes sense that the image of the beast comes before the mark of the beast, right? Because it also makes sense that just like in the creation of Adam, God creates first the body and then breathes the spirit in him. Yeah, so it totally makes sense to me. Thank you.
Yes.
Amen. I just wanted to back up what Lana just said. I never changed my position either, but I want to say that I felt tempted to. I really felt tempted to because I felt with so many people going that way and some of them what I would say much more brilliant than myself. I thought I just must be missing something, but I just could not get past that it was the image. I saw that it was the image, and now I began to think, well, does that mean that's a Sunday law if it's the image? But, right, I went through all that, but I never left my position either. So I was with Lana, and we both talked about it on the side, right?
Could we
But
maybe
it was
say could we maybe say that we tried to give it a chance, what was being taught? And yet, as Alyssa said, the breadcrumbs, because there were a lot of breadcrumbs put out concerning the election in 2016, how she lined up the election in bookended a cause and effect as the date of the election, and then the electoral count is when he was officially president. That was based on 2016. So I too gave it a chance, but struggled.
Yeah.
So is it possible if we, hi there, is it possible if we could even like to put it on a line and kind of like just draw out her distinctions? If I'm not mistaken, a part of her reasoning for July 18th the manosphere, or I don't, I believe that's how she worded it, but I just would like to even see that on the board, the clear distinctions of that build up versus November 5th, and maybe we can do some compare and contrast, kind of simplify it, and I don't know. But yeah, so because I that's I don't know. I guess it was November 5th for me. I remember when Carmela was going over this not too long ago. And I was listening in and I was just November 5th kind of felt like it was, I don't know, we used to say like litmus tests. Like we used to use that terminology. But I kind of feel like it was like a solidified, like this is it. Point or at that point, but I would like to just see just to do some critical thinking to just draw the comparisons and the differences between how she built that up regarding the manosphere I guess point that was kind of also built in, and then versus how it leads up to November 5th, just to see it. But yeah.
Okay, just while that's on my mind, the way you get to July 18th being the Sunday law is using 272 Quintus and all of that whole study. And then we find out that 272 is a historical error. It's not even correct. You go to Elder Tess's original source, you go to the footnote, and that author, Rowling, wasn't saying it was 272. He says in the footnote, it's 273, basically. It says 274 and then the following. Anyway, we won't get back into all of that. So even the way you get to July 18th being the Sunday law, it's actually impossible. It's impossible to do it the way we did it using 272 as your evidence. So I don't know what's happened to that now, but that's okay. But I'm fine with it being the manosphere, the image set up. By the time you get to November 5th, everyone knows what they're voting for because of July 18th. So,
yeah, clearly, that's what I was, once you got to that point, it was like, okay, this is this and that is that. You make your choice, you stand by it or you stand on it. And that was kind of I guess at that point, it's like, you're solidifying your stance.
The audio is not very clear, but I think I picked up basically what you're saying. So, okay, but I'm still okay to bookend the Sunday law period, July 18 to December 17, because as we say, it's the image set up, which is part of the Sunday law story, let's face it. Then November 5th, mark of the beast, Sunday law waymark, test. And then you can carry on. So I'm still okay to use July 18th as the beginning bookend. Oh yes, some comments on the people that were saying we all tried to give it a go. That's the best thing. We were objective. We didn't get emotionally tied to, say, November 5th or anything. And as soon as November 5th gets challenged, I start to get a bit upset or agitated or angry or something like that, or sad, something like that. So Victoria, I'm terribly sorry. I can't tell you. I'm really sorry. But when I did change, I just did it unemotionally. So I think it's important to be objective and be willing to change. After all, if it was 1888, that's all we'd be asking our Catholic and Protestant friends. Stay objective, look in the Bible, what does it say? If you've got to change your entire life, your family and your church disown you, you've got to do it. So objectivity. That's why I always used to say in every presentation, please be objective, not subjective. Okay, so I'll finish the story. So we've got 1-to-1 in 2020, and then January the 6th, tests, because it's time setting, January 6, 2021, that's when we get time. Tess knows it's giving you the date of the Sunday law, November 5th. They'll all vote in Trump. So she knew Trump would win, okay? She would have taught that prediction that Trump will win. They vote him in, shipwreck democracy, known dictator, all of that. Mark of the Beast is voting for Trump.
Aaron,
Yes.
I think Elder Pimenta knew too. And I don't know how he knew, but he knew that Trump was going to win. So,
Okay. So I still refer people back to Luke Stanton's study 2-3 months, I can't remember, but before November 5th. where he
It
laid
was
out.
June 24.
Oh, great, thank you. Where, especially in the last half of that study, he laid out all of Elder Tess and Elder Parminder's logic on the Sunday law being the election. And then Luke said, so Trump will win. So Luke came out with that before November 5th as well. And something else on that, hold on. That's why I write these things down. Hope maybe it'll come back to me. Oh yeah, so Elder Tess started to present November 5th. That's why she was saying things like Eden is an election campaign. And first test to humanity in election, last test to humanity would be an election. She literally said, I think verbatim, I think word for word, in a war of narratives. And that's why there'll be a lot of voting at Sunday law. She was just getting ready to spill the beans. Okay.
Or feeding us that we might come to that conclusion based on the breadcrumbs
Right, I guess so.
instead of directly tell us.
I think she was getting ready to directly tell you, but
Yeah.
you see, that's why I didn't bombard her with questions for the following. She continued to teach and preach for a year and a quarter until she retired. We were still meeting twice a week and whatever, texting and stuff. And I didn't bother bombarding her with questions. If you know me, I try not to be redundant. She was getting ready to teach it, and I thought, I'm happy to wait. Sorry, when the chat pops up, I read it. So, for example, you'll notice when I was presenting November 5th, people would say, if you get the mark of the beast by voting for Trump, you must get the seal of God by voting for Harris or someone else. And I would say, I think so. Like, it sounds right to me, 99% sure, whatever, but I can't say for sure. And that's because I didn't ask her. So I always try to make a distinction between what she said and what logic is. But she did say the death of the King of the South will be the loss of proxies. And I probably sent you those two clips that I've got. And that's what I believe the death of the King of the South is, because I moved away from that internal-external study as well. Okay, so she got all of that. All of that was her, not me. Okay, so the story, March 2021 we got to, didn't we? Oh yeah, so a year and a quarter goes by and she retires, and we're still meeting twice a week and texting, etc. And we get to November the 4th, the day before the Sunday.
So Aaron, even though she retired, you were continuing testing and studying with her?
Not studying at that point, because she just had a meltdown. You have no idea. She collapsed. And she couldn't bear hearing anything, even a rumbling, even if someone's in the room next door, literally, of anything to do with the message, sexism, Trump, anything like that. Honestly. So we just turned it into a social. Literally, I just tried to listen to her and try and cheer her up, make her laugh, act a bit of an idiot, see if I could get her laughing, stuff like that. And we still meet today twice a week. So all of this is fine to tell you. She told me a long time ago, a year or two ago, it's all right to update the movement on how I'm doing, which would of course mean you'd have to know I have contact with her. But I chose not to for various reasons. But it's okay to do that now.
So even today you contact her and text her?
We meet twice a week still. We've been doing that for 4 or 5 years or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Please don't all jump on the phone and text her. So there's 2 reasons I didn't give this story before. One is it came up and I wrote it down, but I didn't want to influence people until the end of the initiative, when everyone had presented all their evidence to all the groups. If I said, Tess told me from my very first initiative presentation, it would be unfair, I think. Everyone would just follow November 5th just because Tess said so. That wouldn't be fair. So I didn't give that story to the very end now. And the other reason is I even hesitated to give it last week. I was in 2 minds, because you can't all jump on the phone to Elder Tess, please, and text her. You have no idea how she can get triggered. Literally just by saying, how are you? Are you enjoying something? Okay, I don't want to go into it, but just please don't do that, if that's all right with you. Okay. March 2021. So we get to November the 4th, and we're not due to meet. It's not one of our days. But she's texting me saying she's completely collapsed. She's having a meltdown. And I said, okay, do you want to meet now? Even though it's not a scheduled meet. She said, yes, please. So if you know any autistic people, they don't like chatting. They don't like chatting on the phone. They're not, autism means you're not very social, basically. But that day we met for 2 hours. And when she answered the phone, she was just in floods of tears in a terrible way. I said, Tess, what's wrong? And she said, I'm this way because it's the election tomorrow. And I thought, okay, well, we've known it's the election tomorrow for weeks or months or actually years. So how is that shocking news to you today? I just thought that, I didn't say that. So it must have been something else, not just the fact that it's the election tomorrow. And I said, oh, because it's the Sunday law waymark tomorrow. And she said, yes. So right up until at least November 4th, she still believed the Sunday law waymark was November 5th. Okay. All I'm saying is she didn't change her mind. Okay.
Did Elder Tess watch her mother, Elder Terry's presentation? Do you know? Have you talked about July 18 with her?
I doubt it very much. If you remember, I think in Elder Terry's original 5-part presentation or something, the first time it was recorded, she said, this isn't Elder Tess. I don't talk to Elder Tess about these things. So I don't think so.
So have you been keeping up with Elder Terry's studies too from the beginning?
No, I don't. I only watch Paminda, and that's a habit of a lifetime.
So how'd you get that about Elder Terry not watching Elder Tess? Elder Tess not watching.
So I say I only watch Elders Jeff, Paminda, and Tess in their dispensation. But there's times when people ask me to review some material. And that's my job as Bible worker. So I'm happy to do that. So I was asked to review Elder Terry's original series. But nothing afterwards. So that's how I know what she said. Okay. There's something, I've got to write more notes. Oh, I've got a terrible memory these days.
Next waymark.
Oh, yeah. So, for example, I've got to spit this one out. She didn't tell Elder Paminda about November 5th. I found that out years later. So I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't tell Elder Terry either. Who knows? Sorry, was that Lana? Go ahead.
No, you forgot what you were talking about. So I just was thinking about the next waymark that maybe it's on your mind that you had when you were preparing this presentation. Is it?
The next waymark? What do you mean by that?
The presentation looks like our conversation about the Sunday law date is not the main topic that you have intended, but rather more like a we just veered off, right? So I just wanted to try to remind you maybe this is something to do with the next waymark.
You mean Daniel 12:1? Study that next?
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't get to that today.
Okay.
But the next time I speak in a month from now, I'm going to start looking at Daniel 12:1.
So Aaron, let's review some methodology here. What is the image of the beast and what is the mark of the beast? Elder Parmender in daily study in 2016, he says that the image of the beast is Daniel 8:12 or Daniel 11:31. Is a transgression of desolation, and the mark of which was the union of church and state when Clovis becomes Catholic. in 496 AD. And the mark of the beast is the abomination that maketh desolate, which was in 538 AD. Is
Okay.
when the Justinian took down the third horn. I think it was the Visigoths or something like that. So what is your definition of image of the beast and mark of the beast?
That is Elder Terry's study, is it, that you referenced?
No, I mean, we're just going through methodology here because, I mean, how do we know July 18 or November 5th? Let's talk with methodology here, not just follow someone saying, you know, that's what we
No,
need. It's
exactly.
just knowledgeable methods.
That's exactly. So whatever you said about Clovis and the dates and Daniel just now, I don't know anything about that. I'm assuming that's Elder Terry, so I can't comment. I haven't studied it. But you're talking about methodology.
No, that was Elder Parmenter. That was Elder
okay.
Parmenter study in 2016 in School of the Arkansas.
Ah, okay. I'd have to go back over it. I wouldn't have watched it since 2016. Doesn't ring any bells, so I can't comment. But what was the other thing you said? Oh yeah, methodology for sure. Just go back to my November 5th studies, whichever ones before I was July 18 or after I was July 18. All the methodology is there. I'm never going to stand up and tell you, Elder Tess said it, so we can't change it. That's cult of personality. Okay, and we're going to get into that a bit later. And that's why I didn't do it when we started the Sunday Law Initiative. Now that it's well over, I really wanted to tell you that story for the sake of completion. And most of you know it anyway. So this is nothing new.
On that note, Mary posted a question and making a statement that your change might indicate that you didn't believe Tess's prediction of November 5th.
I can't get into why I changed. I'm terribly sorry. I wish I could. Okay.
But I guess I just wanted, like, it had nothing to do with that you didn't believe what Tess said. So okay, never mind. Bye-bye.
You can all ask the same question in different ways. I know I'm not that sharp. I'm sharp as a spoon, but I just can't.
You know, if we remain the rest of the time studying methodology, I mean, we'll be all in good stand, you know, because that's what will be tested eventually. You know, it's methodology.
That's why I spent so much time with all the groups going through the repeating pattern, and you can't move the test to loud cry. Okay, that's methodology. So, okay, story. March 2021. Sorry, no, we got to November 5th. Yes. Okay, so she still believes the Sunday law is November the 5th on November 4th. She didn't change her mind. And then the Sunday Law Initiative starts a few months later. And I said to her, I'm going to start teaching November 5th now. Can you remember? So she doesn't mind that. She knows I'm teaching November 5th. I said, can you remember anything else? Like how you get the seal of God, or, you know, whatever. She said, I can't remember anything right now. Everything is a blank. So that's the end of that story. That's the end of that. Again, please don't contact her. She's very fragile. Okay, I'll leave it there. So that's the end of that story, that section. Feel free. Any thoughts?
So I didn't mean to like corner you on belief, but simply to say like belief might not actually have anything to do with it. It is a matter of methodology, of studying out the logic in all of the different people that have been putting forth ideas on the Sunday law. At the end of the day, it has to do with which makes the most sense.
Has to be methodology, as Gloria said. No one should change their opinion just because they heard this story. What time is it? I don't know. If 40 minutes ago you were July 18, you can't change just because you heard that story. Okay, that wouldn't be methodology. Okay. Something else.
Hey Aaron, it's Tyler.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Hey,
Hey, so if this isn't a matter of methodology about what Tess has said to you privately, why are you introducing it into the public as a point of evidence?
no, it's not a point of evidence. It's just to complete the story so you're all fully aware of all the information and what's been going on. I've just said this is not evidence. If you were July 18 40 minutes ago, you should still be July 18 now. It's not methodology, it's not evidence. It's just to complete the story so you know what's been going on. As I said to Victoria now, I try to be transparent about everything. I always try to answer questions and stuff, but there's some things that you and I know we just can't say. Is that right? Okay.
I think it kind of I understand that you're saying it's you're trying to give a complete story, but it seems like you are using this as a point of evidence without saying it. You're functionally saying here's this piece of the story that Tess actually thought it was November 5th. That's where I originally got my understanding that it was November 5th. And for some reason, undisclosed reasons that you had kind of switched to July 18th, and now you've seen errors with that or problems, and now you're realizing November 5th made more sense. So either on the back end or the front end, you're using this as evidence, and
Okay.
and I think that just creates it creates some problems,
Oh,
and yeah.
I apologize for that. That was not my intention. God only knows that. It's only God knows my heart, knows I'm not lying. I think you know me well enough. I think all of you know me. I can be naive. I can be a bit black and white. I can get things wrong, especially when it comes to interpersonal things like how other people think. I'm not good at that. So all I can do is apologize for that. Apology section, as usual. That wasn't my intention, and only God knows whether I'm lying or not. Honestly, I'm not going to start lying right before Daniel 12:1. But again, I apologize in that case. Okay, any other thoughts?
So some of us that stand for July 18, it's all about symbolic. We don't see anything in July 18 to be literal. Just like Eden to Eden, the first voting was not literal, it was symbolic. It was like a mindset. So when it comes November 5th, and you're trying to make some concrete, like people had to vote, it doesn't even include everyone in the worldwide sense, and it's just the US voting. So it's sort of like not concrete. It's not methodology. It's sort of, I don't know, just pulling people together, say it started with voting in Eden to Eden. So let's finish with voting in November 5th. It has to be symbolic. Our message, our methodology is parable. Everything is just symbolic. So
Okay.
nothing literal. There's no
Maria?
voting. Yeah.
While you're sharing that,
Sorry, everybody. Lana had her hand up for a while.
oh,
Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you so much. I just wanted to quickly I thought Aaron just now said that this was his personal position. So this is not, the presentation isn't about to establish the grounds on which um he changed his position, but rather he just shared his insight into that he has changed his position, and here is some of the evidence. But it's not a point of the presentation. I may have misunderstood that. Sorry.
I don't mind which direction the presentation goes in. That's why I encourage interactivity and questions and comments. So I'm fine with that.
I wanted to make the point,
Yeah.
if it's okay, Aaron.
Of course.
Okay. With when Gloria was saying about the voting, because Gloria, I thought about that, and I remember questioning that when it was the only point of view, because I thought to myself, how could that be a Sunday law if other people in other countries, right, don't vote? Or what about the class of citizens that aren't able to vote because of all the, the gerrymandering and the repression of votes, and or the people who don't vote? But then I began to reason it out that it's a mindset, just like you said. And it would be a mindset of people that watch the United States, because we know it was a subject and a topic for people in other countries. Everybody was watching to see what the United States would choose. And no matter if you vote, cast an actual ballot or not, you are choosing in your mind to accept a certain image for your authority. I don't know how to verbalize it better than that, but you are choosing a form of government, and that's symbolic even, right? Because it's either, we know it to be either God's government, which isn't actually here, literally on earth, right? And what God stands for, or the other choice, the oppression, the pettiness, the not loving thy neighbor, all this where people are selfish. It's a mindset, and the masculinity toxic or whatever. It's a mindset. And
Sure.
so
Yeah.
that's how
So
I reasoned it out for November 5. I didn't take it as just completely literal vote, right?
okay, thank you, Susan. The other point is that 2016, as Elder Tess has taught us, Hillary Clinton was our last hope for democracy. So Kamala Harris, she was far left. She was with the Bernie Sanders group, the AOC. So she didn't really belong to that Democratic, group there. So she wasn't the seal of God per se that we should follow,
Okay.
versus the mark of the beast, Trump. So
Good
she
point.
wasn't the candidate for our side. Our group is the only hope at this point. We're rising there because US is gone down totally. Yeah.
I have a question. At what point does Ellen White say that the test is brought before the people? At what point?
At what point does Ellen White say the test
It's brought before the people.
is brought before the people? At what point in time?
When are they tested? Because
Okay.
the point that you guys, and when I say I'm talking Aaron, Susan, those who are saying November 5th on the election. I'm not a November 5th proponent, so let me make that clear. I stand on July 18th. Now, at what point does Ellen White say the people receive the mark of the beast?
I'll show you now. So, something Elder Terry said is correct. Ellen White, I think she said conflates or something. She's not specific. Like, we're so specific about the exact year of even minor waymarks, things like that. But
no, I'm not dealing with it from that context. Okay. Sorry. So, when you're asking questions, it can be difficult. So I'm sorry, please bear with me. Ellen White says,
I'll just read you the quote. And there's other quotes.
Oh, you're going to read me a quote?
Yeah.
Okay, so, please do.
So one of them is the one I've been referring to constantly, where Elder Parminder, 2024, January, Germany, part 2, 1 hour, 15 minutes, I think, in 5 testimonies, when the decree goes forth and the stamp is impressed. So you can watch that for yourself. He spends about an hour dealing with it, talking with Curtis backwards and forwards. Elder Parminder's insisting that means the test is at the Sunday law waymark. I can send you other stuff.
I
We've
know
always
it
done
says the people do not receive the mark of the beast. So not the when they receive, because that's the point that you're arguing about the
I'll read
mark
it.
of the beast being brought to the people at the Sunday law. No one receives the mark of the beast until the issues are clearly laid out before them. Okay, that's one point. I know it's a weak
Well,
point.
shall I answer the first point?
Hmm?
Shall I answer the first point?
That's it. That's what I want. That's the point, really, that I'm getting at.
So,
When people receives the mark of the beast, because you're deliberating that it is at the Sunday law that they receive the mark of the beast, and I'm making the point that not disagreeing with the Sunday law, understanding whatever the Sunday law, but the people who went and voted in the United States of America, the issues were not clearly laid out. That's my argument. The issues were not clearly laid out before them for it to be a test for them to receive the mark of the beast. For them to receive the mark of the beast. Also, what happened in February of 538?
you're asking me? I don't know.
Was there a Sunday law that was enacted in February of 538?
I don't think so, but I'm not
It
sure.
was in February that Justinian made the decree. I think it's February.
Okay.
I could be wrong. It is in February that Napoleon invaded. So I probably am conflating the dates. But when Justinian, I know the date, not there clearly now. When Justinian made the Pope the corrector of heretics, was there a Sunday law that was enacted? 538.
I haven't looked at that in years.
Was there a text that was there brought to the people at 538? I'm making the point that no. Anybody who has studied the history of the 538 history, we know there was not a Sunday law placed at 538, even though we placed the Sunday law at 538. We mark a point, the starting of a point and a period of time. And I think those things are important for us to look at and examine when we're also discussing these things. We are conflating a lot of things, but we are not really fleshing out what happened there in order to make proper application. So we are doing a triple application of prophecy because we are dealing with the third Elijah. We should be going to our Bibles. We should be going to the passages of scripture that deals with the history of the 530, the history of 538, the history dealing up to 538, which is why I was saying it is the history pertaining to the daily. And also the events that took place in 538. Why did we mark it as a prophetic marker? It's not because there was a test brought to the people at 538. There was no test there. So if that is your argument, then we would go back and say there was no Sunday law at 538.
Okay. Good. Thank you for that.
But don't we have to bring all of scripture, all of inspiration, all of history together? And our history is different than all other times prior. And as our, I mean, yeah, we have to take applications, but I guess I'm also taking into consideration the prophet for our times.
And I have no.
Please,
I'm
please,
sorry.
hang on.
Sorry, please allow Alyssa to finish if that's all right. Sorry.
So when we have statements put before us that seem to make a literal test like voting, it actually seems to make sense to me simply because the first test, even though it wasn't a literal mark a box for who you want to rule over you, Satan and God still had that test for humanity. Humanity participated in that test. So to say that there can't be a literal at the end of during our time.
Repeat that statement. Satan and
Satan and humanity participated in the test that Satan essentially put before them of choosing which kingdom to live in, to obey, Satan's kingdom or God's kingdom.
At what point?
Well, there could have been many, but at the point that was delineated for us throughout history was at the eating of the apple.
And why?
Olivine, you have to let Alyssa finish.
Sorry. Yes, at the eating of the fruit, the human beings participated in that test. Were they? I'm not going to go down that line. What I wanted to bring out as well, though, is triple application of prophecies is important for us to stick on as we're dealing with methodology, because 1 + 2 = 3. So 3 has to have characteristics of 1 and 2. We are the two histories that we use is the history of Jezebel and the history of Herodias. So those are the histories that the Bible has painted for us, and they are what we use to make the applications that we make. So therefore, I am saying, using the literal historical context, it has to be brought into view and to bear mind. 1, yes, the prophet for our day is important, not negating that. And I'm not saying that Aaron is a liar, please don't get me wrong. I am saying, though, there is no public record, and it is upon the testimony of 2 that I think she established. It cannot be upon the testimony of 1. So following the rules, upon the testimony of 2 or more shall a thing be established. 1. So I need more than 1 witnesses to say, Elder Tess said X, Y, Z. 1. And 2, I also need to see proper application of prophecy. Yes, sorry. You ready?
Hello.
Okay. Go ahead, someone.
Yeah, why can't we just compare both the buildup as well for her, conclusions in which she came to, and then also for November 5th, because it's obviously we're all just trying to understand what's going on. Nobody wants to be left in the weeds, and we're just really trying to make sure that it's understood. You know what I mean? And it's not something that's just like you can just easily, I guess, grab out without doing some diligent study, because obviously that's how she got to her conclusions. So when are we doing that?
So I think that's what the Sunday Law Initiative was. It was a good amount of months with loads of presentations to all the different
Yeah,
groups.
and I understand that. I'm just talking about for right now, because there's still the July 18th and the November 5th. We're trying to understand, okay, well now which one is it? So do we have to here just, for ourselves here in this group, we can also just say, okay, well, we understand this is how she came to this. This is how we're coming to that. And I don't know, I guess it's going to still take some time, obviously. But it's a little confusing.
Okay. I personally was going to leave this subject behind from today. I was hoping, I thought it would be like France, where I just tell that story, it takes 3 minutes and we move on. They didn't really ask any questions. And over the years, I have been telling people individually, to the point where now I've told a lot of people, and I just never got any reaction. So,
but Aaron,
sorry, I'll just finish.
Okay, go ahead.
I didn't
Sorry.
think it would be as emotive as it has been. And yeah, okay, I'll only be repeating myself. Please go ahead, Gloria.
So Elder Parmenter, in the German conference 2020 study, he puts the test at the formalization. Elder Test, in her Vesper study in 2022. She puts it at formalization. I know you have different thoughts, and I know you're projecting always forward, but at Waymark, we always look backward and forward. It's alpha and omega. Those eyes that Elder Perminder points backward and forward. And Elder Terry, of course, she puts our Mark of the Beast test at formalization. So we have 3 elders here, Elder Perminder, Elder Tess, Elder Terry, putting the loud cry test at formalization. And you also agree with Victoria's remarks about the Jews being be tested at 66 AD. They had to escape Jerusalem. So it started at formalization. All the Jews that did not leave, or the Christians, I'm sorry, it was a sign for them at loud cry to leave. And in the last very presentation that Elder Parmenter did, the Sinners of Zion in Arkansas, he put the test, loud cry test at formalization. Yeah.
Okay.
And that was a very recent one.
Okay. I've already covered that so much, I won't comment, but thanks for the contribution. I don't know, I'm not even sure what you're talking about it's not a literal test. So this may be way off. Forgive me if this is going to annoy you because I misunderstand. But Sabbath keeping is a literal test, and helping an escaped slave is also a literal test. Take it or leave it, I don't know. Okay, so we move on. I do need to fix one thing. I'm meticulous about the apology section, and when I get things wrong, I like to correct them. And that will probably be the end then. It'll probably take 20 minutes or so with discussion, I'm sure. I was going to present the A's and the E's today, 1A, 1E and all of that. So I'll do that next time probably, unless we do have time.
Sorry. Hey, Aaron, that's what I was trying to get at, that the point of your today's presentation is this, not the trying to put the grounds on your shift in position. I just wanted to thank you for your for what you shared today. And it's, it takes courage and honesty to, to admit that you have changed your position and on your personal grounds, whether people agree with it or not. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's so nice of you. Okay, so I do need to fix something. As we mentioned, Gloria brought it up just now, so it's quite fitting anyway. Okay, I've still got this on my screen. Maybe I should go back to Olivine's point without bringing it all up again. SDA Bible Commentary 7, 977. Is that a paragraph? I don't know. Sunday keeping is not yet the mark of the beast and will not be until the decree goes forth, causing people to worship this idol Sabbath. The time will come. Yeah, the time will come when this day will be the test, but that time has not yet come. So she says, when the decree goes forth, that's when it's the mark of the beast. There's, as Elder Terry pointed out, there is one quote which says, Sunday law loud cry is when the mark of the beast time is. And you can answer all of that in a normal, like, it's what Susan was pointing out. Susan Field just now was saying, there's a corporate model, and then there's an individual model with a mindset, and God judges you individually. But I presented that for hours already, so I won't go back into that. Anyway, that was just on my screen, so I read it. Okay, let me.
Can I make one remark?
Please do. I need to find
On
something.
that
So go
quote
ahead.
you read, dear, the one about the idol Sabbath. Just remove the word Sabbath. And because it's idol worship, it's a form of idolatry that they've chosen, right?
Yeah.
The Apis bull was idolatry.
Thank you. So I'll read it. You all know it so well. In one of the Vespers where Tess said she wants to move the test backwards to the formalization. That was from right wing to left wing, 25th of February, 2022. I think it's the second half of that video. And in the very next Vespers, in the first couple of minutes, she says there's problems with that, so I'm going to back off teaching that. So.
And I understood that problem to be is because it was complex, because the title of the Daniel 11:41 was complex, and we experiencing this complex right now with all these different thoughts about the Sunday law waymark.
Okay, so she's basically saying we've always placed the test here. Jeff, Paminda, and Tess all did that. And she says, she brings out Daniel 11:41 where it says many are overthrown. So she says you can move the test backwards to here. Okay, and then she says, sorry, that's problematic. I'm not going to teach that anymore. I'm backing off it or whatever. Okay, but actually you can see that's not what we're trying to do today anyway. So even if you decide, even though she said it's problematic and I'm backing off, I still think she's correct. Even if you want to believe that Vespers, I'll say that's fine. It's your prerogative. But that's the opposite of what we're trying to do today anyway. Today, we're trying to move the test forwards to loud cry. Okay, so even if you believe that Vespers, it doesn't help you with what we're trying to do today. And if you say, well, I think you can move it backwards or forwards, come on, you've got to have some parameters.
Isn't that what happened at 66 AD and 70 AD? 63 AD? Isn't that? The closer probation was 70 AD.
Okay, so this is the formalization. Are you being tested on taking the gospel to the Gentiles at 66? Gloria.
No, we're saying there's another message. Well, that closest down there. We have another message that's, like forecasting the fall of Jerusalem by that man 7 years before, the increase of knowledge. So there's another message that's being unsealed that they're tested at loud cry, 66 AD. I'm not talking about 34 right now. I'm talking about another message that's unsealed.
Okay. So I'll leave it there for you to think.
So I see because Gloria, you're not seeing that the message that is coming at 70 AD is pointing backwards to 66. And that's the point that
is the
Aaron's
60,
trying to
at 63,
illustrate.
At 63, there's some men forecasting, right? Saying, woe, come out from, escape from the city. There's a destruction coming. So I'm just going forward as Aaron is going. I'm not going backward from 70. Yeah.
So I could present it all over again and spend an hour and a half, but I've done it so many times. You could just go back over it. Actually, Gloria, with respect, you're not actually doing what I'm doing, but that's okay. I don't know what to say. Do I sit here and teach this again? I think I taught it last month, didn't I, to this group already? So you could. I don't want to take up.
You just mentioned it. You didn't really go into detail, but you could go through that again. Yeah,
you could. I don't want to. You could just go back and watch the French meetings last week or East Africa. Fine. East Africa. A few weeks
even
ago.
Elder Parmenter went through that very waymark, in last presentation in Arkansas. Yeah.
Okay, so you can see even what Elder Tess was attempting to do isn't what we're doing today. It doesn't help you today. Okay, any thoughts? I know I keep moving on, but still, any thoughts? I don't want to leave out any genuine questions and thoughts. Okay, here's a question. Many overthrown is on the board. Is that a conditional prophecy or an unconditional prophecy? And he shall enter also into the glorious land, and many shall be overthrown.
Could you repeat? Sorry, I apologize. Could you repeat?
It says, and the king of the north shall enter also into the glorious land, Sunday law, and many shall be overthrown. Many shall be overthrown. Is that a conditional prophecy or unconditional?
Conditional.
conditional. And why do you say that?
Because unconditional means you don't have a choice. Conditional means it's got its conditions hung upon your choice. That make sense?
So it doesn't say who's overthrown. It doesn't say Aaron and Susan are overthrown. So we have choice. But it does say many or some. It doesn't matter about the quantity. But it says some people will be overthrown. And we've just demonstrated how that's people in this movement after the Sunday law waymark. So I'm saying, does that mean, could you interpret it as, no, it's just conditional, no one's going to be overthrown? Or just the business as usual, 2 or 3 people might leave. That happens anyway. That happens over the years, not just because we're at Sunday law. Does it have to be fulfilled? Like the second advent, that's not a conditional prophecy. That's going to happen.
Yeah, it's
Can't
going to
stop
happen.
that. Yeah. But the 2520 was a
Maybe I'm
conditional.
looking at it wrong. Now maybe I've got the words wrong then. Conditional and unconditional.
Honestly, maybe I'm wrong. I didn't do my homework properly because we Elder Parminda covered conditional, unconditional prophecy in March, April 2019 in Brazil. And I wanted to go back and watch them, but I didn't have time, basically. So as far as I understand it, please correct me if I'm wrong. A conditional prophecy is like Leviticus 26. It says, if you behave yourself, I'll bless you. But if you don't behave yourself, I will curse you 7 times more. So it's if you do it, or if you don't. So it's a promise based on conditions. In other words, I promise to bless you, but you've got to behave yourself. And if you don't behave yourself, I'll curse you. So that's what I understand a conditional prophecy to be. Unconditional is
It
the
happens
heavens
no matter what, right?
and Jesus is going to come, bring his reward with him, and every eye shall see him and that. That's not conditional. Whether you're good or bad, or the whole world is good or bad, Jesus is coming.
I got you.
Okay, so first of all, does anyone
So then
disagree?
that would be unconditional.
Okay.
If I'm understanding correctly.
And I want to ask, does anyone disagree with my definition of conditional and unconditional? Just let's start there in case I've just got it wrong.
It's a little tricky.
Okay.
It's a little tricky because no one
Sounds right to me. I was just waiting for other people to say something.
Okay, so feel free to interrupt as you're thinking about it. But let's just go with that definition anyway. So with that definition, is this set in stone that it's going to happen? Unconditional? Or is it one of those prophecies that might not happen?
No, I think it will happen.
It will happen. So we've got 2 people saying it will happen.
I agree.
Okay. So we're in that time now.
Yes.
Like Sunday law was whatever you think, a year ago, basically.
Yes.
So
is it interesting at all that Mega is having its division within itself, and we still have division within our understanding? We're still not united in the movement on our understanding.
interesting thought.
So this is the time when we sort of flush out things and try to figure out what this Sunday law waymark is. And that's why we're saying it's logical that the test will be at loud cry just before us here. We're in the increase of knowledge and loud cry. Now, if some of us believe that the test was that Sunday law waymark, do you think, I mean, it's like when some of us are saved and some of us are not saved. And God, in God's mercy, he allows time for a message to develop, be understood before the people, and then the test comes. This is God's mercy, the way he functions.
Okay.
So I don't think God is a he, but the way that
sorry about that.
They have structured the test, though, we have been prepared since Trump was in office the first go around. Project 2025 was released in 23. I don't think that we have been blinded to the reality that we're in. The people that are blindsided by the Epstein files and Trump's lies haven't been paying attention. We've been up to speed since the midnight cry.
No, we're still trying to figure out what is the sixth kingdom, what was the failure of the sixth kingdom, what is the seventh kingdom
That may
like?
be,
Yeah,
but
so
we've been knowledgeable of Trump, of the
oh yeah,
who
we were about
that
knowledgeable back in 2016 when Elder Tess was with us. Yeah, that he
since
was a dictator to be. So this is
right.
nothing new, but yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And so that's why it's confusing to hear that we're not tested until the loud cry. We're tested at every waymark, but we're not tested on the previous dispensation at the loud cry. That's a loud cry for the close of probation.
Exactly. It gives you the time of the close of probation forward. So I feel like
And it's
apologizing. I didn't
where,
intend. Go
oh,
ahead.
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
no,
That was
please, go
poor
ahead, please.
timing. um, oh, pooey. Oh, I was gonna see when the loud cry was mentioned, we can see that beginning rumbling because because the mainstream news media, the external prophets are being silenced and being fired, blah blah, and many of them they're capitulating over. Right? They're capitulating over to the demands that the government has put on them, which means they're not doing their journalistic duties. They aren't reporting the truth because they're afraid they're going to get sued. So you're seeing independent voices begin up on YouTube, and I'll just name Heather Cox Richardson. There's so many. Like Donna posted the Democratic, I can't think of his name, Tallarico, but there's a lot of them. I just can't name all the names off. And Troy had mentioned to me in the Bible study thread this last week, because who was the man I posted? Jim Acosta. Jim Acosta was CNN, and Jim Acosta was when CNN was the gold standard, like what Elder Tess used as a comparison to the false media stream. And Jim Acosta left CNN because of the standards that were happening even at CNN, right? That were not up to par. And now he has his own independent YouTube. And he had a chat with Heather Cox Richardson that he wants to gather all of these voices together so that they can be a community of voices. And it's interesting that he wants to lead it out, and he's from CNN, and I see that as becoming a loud cry when that comes together, when all those voices are heard singing that message of what's happening, against what's happening.
Okay. So I thought I would get through all the A's and the E's. I thought this would just be like 5 or 10 minutes. But so I won't start that now. We've only got 10 minutes, but maybe I'll do it next time I speak, or maybe I'll jump straight into Daniel 12:1. As I've said before many times, I can't make sense of that internal death, external death of the king of the south, and that the end of the Ukraine war is Daniel 12:1. It may be true, I can't make sense of it, so I backed away from that as well, stopped teaching that. So for me now, the only event really that you have at Daniel 12:1 will be when the east wind kills the army of Rome. So that's all I'm looking into. Of course, the four winds are loosed, not just the east wind. So I'm thinking something like World War, which, if you read the news today, isn't a crazy idea. But I don't know how we could study that as a marker for Daniel 12:1. So I'm just particularly looking at the east wind from now on. Personally, I'm going to leave that whole Sunday law date. Personally, not mention it again, But you can always ask questions. You can ask me to present something if you like. I really don't mind. It's just my own personal idea. Any last thoughts?
Thank you for your faithful work. We already all contribute, all, benefited from them. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. You're very sweet. Thank you so much. Okay, let's close in prayer. Mighty God in heaven, we thank you for good friends. That's the main thing. We thank you that we're good friends, that we're all friends, and we thank you for this good message, for this good movement. And we pray that your Holy Spirit please be with us even unto the end. In Jesus' name, amen.